Hi, good evening from the south of Germany, same place, different time, and good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're watching from. Today, I want to talk about the topic of cravings. Um, Before I want to start with the topic, I want to actually start with two things that we should keep in mind while talking about cravings. And the first thing is that everything around us, uh, the laws of the universe, and so does the universe too, everything tries to balance out. There's always this natural strive for things to be balanced. Whenever there's an extreme, for example, if you think about the snow, the rain, the sun, there's there's always a good mixture of all of those things. And the same is true for our bodies. So whenever we tend to get a little bit extreme on one side or the other, our bodies naturally tries to balance that out. So there's one really important thing to keep in mind. And the other one is that is to know and to be reminded on how our brain actually works. So our brain is really complex, like in so many ways, but at the same time, it's not. It's very simple. And why do I say this? Well, because the brain is always um, trying to get the quickest and the easiest fix possible. If you know that, that can help you a lot just by itself. Be reminding yourself on a daily basis that this is how our brain works. That is actually, for example, one reason why change for the brain is something very uncomfortable. Because change, what change actually means to our brains is that something is changing, something is different, and that different might be something that we're not used to. So there might be an underlying danger. And if you think about the good old days, back to when we were living in caves, not craves, but caves, um, change could potentially be dangerous. If, for example, you imagine you're in the forest and all of a sudden everything becomes quiet, that's not a good sign, you know? So the reason why our brain does that is not to get on our nerves and make it even more difficult to us. It's more so it wants to protect us from a natural survival instinct kind of modus focus. And so, keeping that in mind, I would like to talk about cravings. So, one thing that came across my path as I was becoming a yoga teacher, it's that it's the fact that I really found interesting, and I haven't thought about that prior to that. And it's actually something that I still found a lot of healing up until this day for myself. And so maybe you can do too, right? So just be reminded that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical advisor, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just here, a social worker in my kitchen and sharing some things that I found useful for myself. So take whatever resonates for you. And I also want to invite you to do your own research. Also, you by yourself know your body better than nobody. So um, just take what resonates. And if it doesn't resonate, or if you want to do your research, I would kindly like to invite you to be curious about that topic, um, and to just find more information that might help you or be interesting to you. Right. So talking about cravings, there are like one, two, three, four. There are five flavors that we, as of today, as that we know. And one flavor that, in the context of cravings, is very prominent is the craving for sweets. And you probably know that already. You have felt it, you have heard it maybe. In Germany, we have this saying that whenever life is sour, you need something sweet. So, where does the craving for sweets come from? So, one basic, really quick answer would be could be stress. So, if you're stressed, also what stress means to you might not be the same as it's for me, right? I, for example, know people that can concentrate a long time and work with numbers, whereas for me that would be stress. I can do that, but I don't do it with an open heart and enjoying the process of it. So to me, it's like probably more stressful than, for example, to my cousin who loves everything about numbers. That's also an important component when we talk about cravings. But, anyways, if you crave for sweets, it might be due to stress. So, the question behind that or underlying that craving could be um, if you feel like stress resonates with your current situation or just with you in some way, you can ask yourself, where does that stress come from? And if you answer to that by saying, well, the work is stressful, or the relationship is stressful, or the family is stressful, this is like a very superficial way of looking at it. If you want to really understand why your body tries to balance out a stressful situation with sweet things, you can go a little bit deeper and really ask yourself, what is it in the workplace that is causing me stress? Is it that project that I need to finish until tomorrow or next week? And if so, even there you can go deeper. Like, what is it? Which part of the project is making it stressful to you? Is it, for example, that you don't have the numbers that you need in order to complete XYZ? If so, maybe there's a workaround you can find. Basically, the goal should be if you already know that it's a stressful situation and it's nothing that you can really change, essentially, because the stress will just continue until you finish up the project, try to find ways to make it a little bit easier for you. Because if you don't, your body will do it. Because again, here, things always try to balance themselves out. The only option that you have is whether you are the one making the decision for your body or the body will take the decision for you. So that can look like, for example, you have a stressful day, you're working on a project, you're stressed, you drive home, you arrive at your house, and then you feel like now that this was really stressful, I want to reward myself with chocolate, with cake, with whatever kind of sweets you can think of. Ice cream in general. And as I said before, I think I said it before, I did a pre recording, so I try to not mention things that I haven't said. But if you're craving for that, you can actually decide on consuming something sweet with full awareness. And that's cool too. Um, I did it just prior. I had one situation like that today in the afternoon. That's why I wanted to hop up here and share that with you. Um, and I actually gave in to that. I eat a cake and it was a really beautiful cake. I went to a cake store here and I chose it and it was like really with pistachios, and I don't want to make you feel cravings listening to this video, but it was just something that I really did with my full awareness. I chose it, it had a nice package, I unpacked it, and I just enjoy the whole process of it. I really ate it very slowly, so you know that I could really get the sensation of it. And if you do it very with very being very um, acknowledging every part of it with consciousness, that can already make a difference. But if you find yourself in the last time or in a phase of your life where you just work, 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 and then you reward yourself or your system with something sweet, well, you know already that's not that not might be the best idea for your system in a long term, because as we all know, sugar is not good. So just try to be conscious about why that thing might be happening. And if you can find a way to ease that stress in a way, um, you probably won't feel that craving so strong. So, besides the craving for sweet, you could be having the craving or know the craving of for things that are salty. And salty actually could be an indication that your body is dehydrated, so that you need more water. Which is funny, right? Because salt, in a first thought, you could think that if you eat something salty, your body will be having less water. So it's kind of tricky. But actually, if you look at it from a biological perspective, how can you become dehydrated? So, for example, if you sweat a lot, your body loses specific kinds of salt. Why? Because you lose water. When you sweat, you lose water and you lose salt. So your body tries to balance that out. And that's why you have cravings for salty things. You might have experienced that too. So if you go on in the gym, for example, um, one thing is really natural, that you will have hunger for food after that, because you're just your body needs it, but also because that is also one reason for that. So if you know that, you can adjust your cooking slightly, in order to ensure that this craving doesn't even come up. But saltiness, also because the word stress is something that is like all around us. It could also be stress, of course, but also here the question would be, where does it come from? Why have you experienced that? And basically, what can you do to either change it completely or to just adjust maybe certain steps along the way to make it easier for you? So then I will go to the next two flavors, which is sour and bitter. And with those flavors, they actually have something in common, which is the need for the body to detoxify. But the main source of that is different. So it might sound similar, but it's slightly different. So if you have a craving for sour things, it could be because, for example, you're overthinking certain things. And if you're overthinking, what happens is that you create kind of this mental fog around your head, around your thoughts, and you can just not cut through it. So if this happens, the body naturally tries to kind of shock your system with something sour in order to cut through that fog. If you know that, now that you listen to it, the next time you feel that craving, or you know that this is this kind of mental fog happening, you can use this to your advantage. And actually, instead of eating something sour, which you could of course do, but you could also ask yourself, how can I shock myself? And then, for example, come up with the idea that maybe you could take a cold shower, which the effect on the body is the same, but not through a craving for sour, but more so because you have taken the control part and shocked yourself. And after that, the mental fogginess, the um, detoxification of the feeling of feeling stuck might disappear too. Or it just might not disappear completely one time you do it, but maybe it will become easier afterwards. And you can feel that. The craving for bitter, on the other hand, is, as I said, also based on the idea of the body to detoxify, but more so because there might be an underlying inflammation, for example. Everything that comes in nature that is by itself bitter, for example, leaves, salads, everything that is green pretty much, because it has, I don't know what it's called in English, but it is this, the thing that makes the plants green. So whenever that is part of the food you eat, like for example in salads, it's a natural detoxification for your body. So, for example, if you have had a really big party and you were out with your friends and you drink alcohol, and then the next day, it might be that you have a craving for something bitter. Um, and that's because the body also here tries to heal that inflammation that might be coming from the liver or from your skin, or inflammation can be also on an emotional level if you think about it. Um, so whenever you find yourself having this kind of craving for bitterness, that might be one reason or things that could be leading to that. And then last but not least, we have the flavor of umami. So umami is very difficult to describe it, but it's, for example, it's within within soy sauce. Umami is also can be found in a specific type of fungus, and it's also, for example, in tomatoes. So first of all, also here the invitation to first of all check, the different ingredients is where umami can be part of. And then once you know where umami comes from, you can then go from there and ask yourself, is this something that you have a craving for every once in a while? If so, it might be that from a biological perspective, your body needs proteins. Proteins. And why are proteins important? Well, our body needs proteins for everything. To grow muscles, to connect the dots in our brains, to make connections of things that we have learned previously with the things that we know now. So proteins is basically, we are made of proteins basically. So if you have a craving for umami specifically, which I think that is pretty rare, but I just want to mention that it try to find natural flavors that can give you that. For example, barley can be something that you could use because barley has a lot of proteins. But there are many other foods as well that contain a lot of proteins. If you do a lot of sports, it's good to have proteins as well because your body will use those proteins, during the process of exercising. So if you know that, you can, for example, take proteins before doing sports. So in order that when you're exercising, you don't fall into like a lack of proteins afterwards and therefore have cravings again. Um, So yeah, I guess we were drifting right now. We're drifting already like a little bit more into the biological aspects of things. But basically, the main topic here is, and the reason why I wanted to come and share this with you, is that during this process, just allow yourself to be graceful with yourself. If you feel the need to be rewarding your body for with whatever, do it, but do it consciously. It really makes a difference. And if you feel uncomfortable, or if you feel like you know that you shouldn't do it, but you still do it anyways, like with the sweets or the chocolate at work or whatever, um, that video might be a help to kind of break that pattern, in order for you to feel better. Um, yeah, I guess that's that for today, for now. And yeah, I think that's it for like one other thing too is sleep is very important. Like, if in the moment that your sleep rhythm is changing, where you have two less hours, and that may be also during 2 or 3 or 4 days, you will feel that craving situation a lot more, because your body tries to balance TF out whatever it can. So craving will probably be likely to happen to you. Um, so just also keep that in mind. Fresh air is important, healthy food, and sleep, and everything that makes you emotionally feel good. So whatever that might be to you, listening to music, singing, dancing, sometimes maybe even screaming. Um, but everything that keeps you kind of in balance and just regulates. And if you do all of that, you probably just won't feel the same, or at least not so many cravings as you did probably before. Right. So I guess right now I'm for real. I think I've covered the most important topics here. But of course, if you think about something else, or if you have a question on specific things, just let me know. Feel free to comment, or send me an email, and I will take it from there. So thank you, and see you in the next one. Bye.